My beloved, do you think it's an accident that you're hearing my voice right now? No. Heaven planned this moment long before you took your first breath. Here on Holy Voices, we share the whispers of eternity, the messages that change hearts and awaken destinies. If your soul is ready, stay with me, because what you're about to hear might be the very word your spirit has been waiting for. Family, our vision is 40,000 strong. Subscribe to Holy Voices today and let's lift our light together. It wasn't just any sirens blowing through your morning air that meant catastrophe was on its way. Those noises were the cosmic alarm clock warning a community that had never realized what it was dealing with, that your ultimate power was about to be released. All those who constructed the false accusation will be destroyed by the very weapon that is headed toward your door like a directed missile. And the investigation that will soon sweep through your neighborhood will reveal everything that has been concealed, like a funeral vulture eating their lies. With a silent hurry, the officers come to your door. But pay special attention to their eyes. Selected 1. Some people already feel like they are being exploited as pawns in a far darker game than the straightforward neighborhood report or domestic disturbance that is being looked into. The following charges won't be careless remarks made out of rage or emotional responses to interpersonal disputes. These will be surgical attacks, expertly prepared by someone who knew more about social psychology and legal loopholes than they did about their own hollow souls. Some severe claims have been brought to our attention, and we need to ask you some questions about them. Like a judge's gavel declaring a prearranged verdict, the words linger in the air. However, this is what makes your consciousness tingle. These are not arbitrary charges that resulted from small arguments that got out of hand or from neighborhood rumors. Every element has been thoughtfully placed to cause the most societal harm with the least amount of proof. Maximum disturbance to the community while posing the least amount of danger to the actual offenders. This moment has been planned for months, if not longer, by someone with intimate knowledge of community psychology and investigative techniques. Your daily habits have been examined, your social networks charted, your weaknesses noted, and the precise location of your attack for maximum devastation calculated. It is known which institutions will put reputation management ahead of seeking the truth, whose neighbors are readily influenced, and which community leaders would keep quiet to safeguard their own interests. But even before you say a single word in defense, you stand in your doorway, feeling their preconceived judgment bear down on you like a tangible weight meant to break your spirit. If there was any true comprehension of what is being dealt with, something crystallizes in your mind that should frighten these individuals. You are not being targeted by chance or unintentional misfortune in this attack. Through you, cosmic justice is being channeled into a community that has long condoned corruption, much like a divine lightning rod. When examined objectively, free from shock or emotional response, the charges themselves demonstrate the depth of desperation. It doesn't target particular behaviors or activities that you've taken and can prove with proof. Your influence, independence, and unwavering unwillingness to submit to institutions that require everyone to conform, aside from those who are strong enough to stand alone in the truth despite societal pressure or community backlash, are being targeted. You don't realize that every accusation is being recorded by cosmic forces that maintain meticulous records of who attacks whom and why, who speaks truth and who spreads lies, who serves justice and who perverts it for personal gain. This is true even as you speak carefully rehearsed words intended to ruin your reputation and cut you off from support networks. The police inquiry that is initiated will look at more than simply the accusations they made against you. It will unavoidably spread to every aspect of community life, impacting every institution and corrupting every system in order to keep power. There is a perception that a problematic person is being targeted by law enforcement. In reality, a process has been initiated that will reveal a whole network to scrutiny that was before unthinkable. Within hours of the first police interaction, rumors start to circulate around your community at the speed of a virus designed to spread as quickly as possible and with the least amount of resistance. However, observe the consistency of reaction through the analytical distance of someone who knows mass psychology better than the masses do. It takes time for natural community rejection to occur, necessitates lengthy neighborly conversations, and entails the slow deterioration of trust through a buildup of evidence and repeated confirmations from various sources. This is not the same. This is carried out with the effectiveness of a practiced operation and coordinated with military accuracy. With seasoned efficiency, the same faces that just yesterday morning nodded in courteous acknowledgement now turn away. Their rate of rejection tells you everything you need to know about the power dynamics and community structure you're actually dealing with whenever you put yourself in their line of sight. Someone with significant clout has been methodically and thoroughly examining the communication networks. Strategically timed coffee shop visits, well-planned talks in church parking lots following services, and well-timed phone calls to influential figures who can sway public opinion without seeming to coordinate reactions. The story about you wasn't just disseminated at random via natural gossip networks, which isn't how real community issues usually spread. It was intentionally sown, carefully cultivated, and reaped by someone who is more knowledgeable about mass psychology than these individuals are about their own mental processes. It has been programmed to respond negatively. Additionally, computer software follows the programming with unthinking efficiency, carrying out preset commands. Genuine communities don't desert its members on the basis of unsubstantiated rumors. Before making a decision, specific evidence must be presented. There are challenging queries that call for thorough responses. Until the truth comes from inquiry rather than conjecture, people stand together in mutual support. It doesn't show your guilt to anyone with a working critical thinking ability that your entire neighborhood turned against you with such amazing uniformity and quickness. It reveals a society that was never truly a community but rather a meticulously regulated social experiment intended to eradicate anyone who challenges the status quo or the mechanisms that maintain some individuals in positions of undeserved authority. Through a planned reaction, it has become clear that community cohesiveness was always a facade that was only preserved as long as everyone fulfilled their designated tasks and adhered to set rules. The illusion vanished instantaneously when someone showed true independence or threatened the status quo, exposing the control and manipulation that always existed beneath the surface of civilized social interaction. The police investigation that looks into their allegations will undoubtedly find the response's coordination. Digital communications leave behind traces that are impossible to fully remove. Trained investigators can quickly identify patterns in phone records. Connections made through financial transactions become apparent when properly examined. The effectiveness of the community-wide rejection will turn out to be proof of the plot that was never anticipated to be looked into. After a few days of their masterwork of deceit, divine intervention appears in the most ordinary way imaginable. A security camera that was overlooked during meticulous preparation, placed at an angle that was never taken into account during reconnaissance, and records with digital clarity that renders their meticulously planned timetable physically impossible to uphold under inspection. As the video plays, you see the investigating officer's face change in real time. With pressure, certainty drained from their face like water from a punctured jar. However, methodical unraveling is only getting started. And it's like atmospheric pressure building up before a destructive storm system passes through the area. Other inconsistencies start to show up within hours of the initial contradiction being identified, much like cracks that spread through concrete under increased stress. The contradictions between witness claims show practice rather than authentic memory creation. Phone logs reveal questionable communication patterns during the crucial times and right before your accusation was formally submitted. The probe that was carefully crafted to bury you under a wave of public censure has evolved into the main instrument for methodically and efficiently excavating collective graves. Because divine justice does more than only shield defenseless people against concerted assaults. In order to expose entire networks of systematic corruption that have been functioning for years with impunity, it weaponizes those same attacks as launching pads. Now, every well-crafted falsehood they used to use your story against you is coming undone with amazing speed. And every loose thread takes detectives farther into connections they didn't want to find. Financial relationships that raise instant red flags are revealed by the phone calls required to organize the reaction. The purpose of the sessions was to coordinate allegations and reveal corporate alliances that clearly constitute conflicts of interest. Digital fingerprints found in the documents that have been manipulated to bolster allegations can be linked to particular people who have obvious reasons for having you removed from positions of power in the community. Like a photograph developing in a chemical solution, you start to see the larger picture come to life, bringing to light features that were previously invisible but were always there. Your unfounded charge wasn't a one-off occurrence directed at a single problematic person who defied social norms or asked too many questions. It was a component of a much broader, methodical strategy to get rid of anyone who could endanger the meticulously upheld control system. For years, the same pattern has been used, excluding voices that challenge authority, focusing on people who exhibit independence, and isolating anyone who might reveal tactics or contradict narratives. The investigation into your case is uncovering a history of victims who were ruined by identical concerted tactics of social exclusion and reputation assassination. The growing body of evidence is no longer merely circumstantial. Coordination that satisfies legal standards of conspiracy is shown by digital forensics. Financial data reveal money movement patterns that are indicative of racketeering and fraud. Intercepts of communications offer documented evidence of evidence manipulation and witness tampering. What began as their weapon against you has evolved into a highly accurate tool for their own demise. Even the most seasoned law enforcement skeptics cannot ignore or rationalize the manifestations of something unquestionably supernatural by the second week of intense investigation. Just a few days ago, key witnesses who were completely confident in their evidence suddenly have convenient amnesia that solely impairs their memories of the events that occurred in your case. Inexplicably, important pieces of evidence that were meant to offer the conclusive evidence required to seal your doom disappear from purportedly secure filing systems that demand several levels of authorization to access. The cops looking into your case begin asking entirely new questions, which indicates a fundamental change in perception of the real issue at hand. These are now inquiries about the persons who initially made these claims, not about your guilt or innocence. The emphasis moves from constructing a case against you to comprehending why each and every aspect of this inquiry seems to be controlled by unseen forces that appear to be steering events in the direction of particular discoveries. Years of separating real crimes from fabricated plots have allowed seasoned investigators to hone their intuition. Furthermore, every professional sense tells us that this is a sophisticated scam intended to use the judicial system as a weapon against an innocent person. Every time you give, you break the spirit of lack. A $50 seed into holy voices is declaring abundance over your life. The patterns of evidence that are being seen do not correspond with the natural progression of crime. Authentic memory development is not reflected in the witness actions. The discrepancies in the documentation point to planned manipulation as opposed to haphazard human mistake. In the meantime, your accusers are starting to lose their minds in ways that are obvious to anyone observing behavior objectively. Additionally, their fear sets off a domino effect that exponentially increases exposure. The self-assured faces that testified with such religious conviction suddenly display little cracks of doubt that enlarge under duress. There was no expectation that the investigation would go beyond looking at the charges made against you. It never occurred to them that their own behavior may be examined with the same forensic precision that they thought would kill you. The laws of physics that govern divine justice are completely outside the realm of human control. Beyond your wildest dreams, every ounce of negative energy that was directed toward you with deliberate malice is coming back multiplied and weaponized. With surgical precision, their own strategies are being used against them. They are being mercilessly destroyed by their own strategies. While they thought your demise was being planned, their own lies are securing themselves like nooses. Exposure's extraordinary acceleration isn't a result of luck or happenstance. It is cosmic law in response to the transgression of spiritual precepts that dictate the proper use of power and the consequences of its unwarranted corruption. War was declared against unidentified forces, and those forces are retaliating with far greater firepower that functions outside the bounds of human institutions and the law. It was thought that you would be promptly prosecuted and exiled from the society by the third week. What started as a straightforward charge against one person has grown into a federal probe that has surgically spread its tentacles into local government offices, police enforcement networks, business alliances, and community organizations. Your unfounded charge was more than simply a personal jab at a problematic neighbor. It was the outward manifestation of a systemic corruption that goes far deeper than anyone in a position of power could have ever imagined. Coordination patterns found in phone records include years of methodical operation intended to regulate communal decision-making processes, not just months of recent preparation. Financial documents reveal complex money movement networks that produced strong incentives for collaboration and quiet among various societal segments. Email chains disclose exchanges that show how casually, almost recreationally, lives were killed for safety and financial gain, treating people like movable parts in complex power struggles. Your case ends up being the key that opens a treasure trove of evidence showing decades of coordinated abuse, methodical intimidation, and planned eradication of anyone who posed a threat to the meticulously upheld control structure. According to the inquiry, there is a pattern of past victims who were devastated by similar efforts of community isolation and character assassination. They are all targeted for the same offense, independent thought, and defiance of unofficial but powerful authority. The same local authorities who purposefully keep quiet while you are being publicly crucified are now frantically trying to disassociate themselves from information that links them to plots that are considerably more heinous than straightforward character assassination. Their inaction, which sprang from a wish to avoid confrontation, was not neutral. It was funded by perks and privileges obtained in return for involvement in the destruction of anyone who posed a challenge to the status quo, and it was purchased cooperation and systematic oppression. The neighbors who ignored you with such incredible anonymity are now realizing that predators who were more adept at understanding their psychology than their own children's needs had taken control of and manipulated their own neighborhood. The pressure from society to rejecting you wasn't a natural sentiment in the community. In order to keep some people in positions they had never obtained legally, it was manufactured consent that was produced by methodical psychological manipulation intended to isolate threats to power before corruption could be revealed. You see very well that, in their lengthy history of effective eliminations, you were never intended to be simply another victim. You were supposed to be the detonator who blows up their entire enterprise so completely that it can never be rebuilt. The assault on you set off a series of events that will pierce through layers of deceit and reveal truths that have been brewing in the shadows for decades. The main weapon in their own systematic ruin is the police inquiry that was started to destroy you. Every falsehood used to discredit you has been proven to be part of a conspiracy. Each coached witness is now evidence of obstruction. Every document that has been changed is now evidence of fraud. Every phone call has been turned into a record of racketeering. The judicial system was used as a weapon against you, and in retaliation, it is using interest accrued from years of crimes that went unpunished to weaponize itself against you. There is standing room only at the courthouse. The day their painstakingly built house of deceit finally crumbles under the weight of documented evidence that cannot be disproved or explained away by legal wrangling. However, you are not seated in the defendant's chair, where your humiliation and devastation were intended to be seen. As their star witness against them, you are positioned on the witness stand. Furthermore, the individuals who planned your methodical character assassination are now facing federal charges with repercussions they could never have predicted in their wildest paranoid fantasies about possible justice. Your former accusers must face the timestamped, documented, and legally admissible proof of their own corruption, which is displayed on digital screens for the whole courtroom to review in detail, one by one. Under the constant pressure of cross-examination, which reveals every contradiction in a manufactured narrative, the assured voices that once proclaimed your guilt with the zeal of religious fanatics now falter and contradict themselves. When faced with digital evidence that has never been found, phone records that have been deleted, financial transactions that were assumed to be undiscovered, and communication intercepts that expose the calculated nature of conspiracy in their own words, talking to each other with casual arrogance about power to destroy anyone who threatened control, the well-planned stories that have been practiced like lines in a carefully scripted play fall apart completely. However, the actual reckoning isn't taking place in this courtroom with its human witnesses and due process requirements and constitutional protections. It is simultaneously showing up in spiritual realms where deeds and intentions have repercussions that go beyond all earthly laws and human judgment. The destructive energy that has been directed at you with such deliberate malice and methodical coordination has changed into the very power that destroys all that has been carefully manipulated and controlled by the community over the years. You observe from your vantage point of moral superiority and complete vindication as their whole manufactured world collapses with amazing effectiveness. Normal retirement or job transitions are not the only ways that careers terminate. Their names are so completely obliterated that they are whispered in professional circles as warning tales of what happens when power corrupts people beyond repair. It takes more than mutual consent or natural progression to break a relationship. Apologies and efforts at reconciliation are insufficient to restore confidence since the poisoning is so profoundly ingrained. Legal proceedings don't only temporarily freeze bank accounts. Complete draining is brought on by escalating legal costs and civil judgments, which stack up like compound interest on cosmic debt and compound every day until the entire amount owed is collected. Their reputation is harmed by more than simply bad press or rumors in the community. They are so completely destroyed that they turn into paras in the exact communities that were previously ruled by deception and terror. Political procedures and organizational reorganizations are not the only ways their power is reduced. As techniques are revealed and victims have the confidence to speak out about years of institutionalized abuse and intimidation, total eradication takes place. Instead of leading to your arrest and punishment, the police investigation meticulously recorded their crimes, which prosecutors say is the most complete example of organized community corruption they have seen in decades of practicing law. The same efficiency that was once used to destroy innocent victims who threatened their stranglehold on local power structures is now being utilized to watch them face justice in a community that was once dominated by terror. Only those who felt the call should read the next message. I realized the terrible reality when I escaped through the Salvia Deorum doorway. One harvested pod among innumerable matrices is our reality. I saw the cosmic parasites of the Archon, who sneered and posed a threat, consuming our energy. No soul will ever be awakened by you. However, you are already aware of this fact, aren't you? Persistent feeling that you've been selected and that you're meant for greater. I'm assembling the most intelligent people into an army. I learned about their one weakness, coherence through unconditional love, through meditation. Now feel that resonance growing inside of you. This isn't just something you happen to read. The Holy Voice's inner order, the top ascension center for those with destiny, is already seeing a gathering of the most potent awakened souls. One Truth unites Christians, light workers, remote watchers, and targeted individuals. You were selected for this occasion. In the description below, click the link. Participate in our live streams, panels, and group calls that are accessible to the whole Astral Atom Network. Our frequency is boosted by yours. Whether you are selected is not the question. Will you take the call is the question. You are going to make a decision that the Archons fear. They should. The neighborhood that only weeks ago uttered your name like a curse now comes toward you with halting apologies and frantic attempts at explanation, revealing the depth of fear as understanding of what was done without fully appreciating the extent of corruption made possible by complicity and silence. However, you comprehend something that is only just starting to be understood via intense humiliation and mounting fear. In order for the greater revelation to come out of the shadows and continue hurting more innocent victims, their betrayal was cosmically required. The systemic corruption would have stayed safely hidden in the shadows, where it could have carried on with impunity, if assistance had been given from the start with the loyalty and solidarity that true communities offer to their members who are being attacked. Before your case triggered supernatural justice procedures, decades of systematic abuse and community manipulation had destroyed numerous victims, and their quick rejection of you on the basis of false allegations necessitated divine intervention. Your $20 super thanks may look small, but in God's hands, small seeds bring great harvests, Mark 4 verses 31 to 32. As the entire extent of what was done without their knowledge or informed consent is processed, pay close attention to their faces. Uncomfortable knowledge that life has been lived under the systematic control of predators who studied psychological weaknesses more thoroughly than they understood their own strengths or their children's developmental needs has permanently replaced the cozy illusion of mutual protection and community safety, which has been shattered beyond any chance of recovery. The prevalence of anonymous complaints and whispered allegations. Demands for hard proof and strict accountability before anyone's reputation may be harmed by rumors or conjecture have permanently replaced the reports that formerly thrived in their community. Once an unofficial community policy, the casual acceptance of social isolation and character assassination has evolved into proactive community protection against precisely the kind of concerted onslaught that you survived thanks to divine intervention. Their embarrassment serves as a lesson to them about how easily regular people can be tricked into destroying helpless people. Their education becomes your triumph demonstration that reveals the psychology of mob manipulation to everyone who saw them change from neighbors into weapons against you when the operation is driven by fear rather than wisdom, by group conformity rather than individual conscience, or by social pressure rather than personal integrity. Some people try to ask for forgiveness on a personal level for their part in your persecution. However, there is a fundamental lack of understanding that should both reassure and frighten. A struggle to comprehend what actually happened during those weeks when the community turned against you with such synchronized precision takes place. Personal forgiveness between people who made mistakes under duress was never the point here. Their community's approach to handling conflict, processing information, and reacting to authority individuals who demand unquestioning compliance has been irrevocably changed by the police inquiry that started with their coordinated charges against you. Painful experience has taught us that uncritical faith in local authorities and quick rejection of those targeted can foster an environment where systemic injustice can continue unchecked for decades. Months after the final conspirator is sentenced, he vanishes into the prison system, which is an unexpected experience from the inside. You traverse streets that, despite their outward appearance, exude an entirely different vibe that mirrors the cosmic alteration in the balance of power brought about by your vindication. Something far more potent than what entered has emerged from the chosen one who entered this trial by fire. Changed not only by surviving a coordinated assault but also by seeing directly how divine protection functions when supernatural beings choose to step in and handle human affairs. You haven't simply honed your spiritual abilities under duress like forge fires are used to heat metal. Due to necessity, precision devices that can pierce through deception like laser beams through fog have been weaponized. Unlike blade edges polished by frequent use, your discernment has been refined by experience. Supernatural accuracy has been attained, penetrating illusions and revealing underlying intents with such accuracy that it terrifies those who rely on manipulation to hold others in subordination. You don't simply regain your faith in supernatural protection after being put to the test in trying situations. You and every witness who watched your vindication process have proof beyond a reasonable doubt, establishing the unwavering confidence that those who are selected follow different standards than regular people who rely solely on human institutions for safety and security. What you truly represent in cosmic terms is utterly unbreakable, as demonstrated by the suffering that was carefully designed to shatter your spirit and destroy your desire to resist. Instead, you have gained credibility as someone who not only survives what destroys ordinary people, but also comes out stronger than before the attack started thanks to the lies that were carefully crafted to ruin your name and remove your influence. False allegations against selected ones serve reasons much beyond personal persecution or individual targeting, as you now clearly realize. There are circumstances that make divine intervention evident to entire societies that are in dire need of seeing supernatural justice in action. The forces of systematic corruption that would otherwise be comfortably concealed in the shadows, where they might continue to harm innocent people without facing any repercussions, are revealed. Witnesses who require hard evidence that spiritual principles regulate matters are shown that cosmic protection is real. Your experience becomes living proof that no weapon created against chosen ones can eventually succeed because service takes place in cosmic order and roles that go beyond individual survival or personal well-being, even when human systems fail to offer justice or accountability. The inquiry that your accusers set off to destroy you has changed the way your entire region responds to organized attacks against people, handles allegations, and analyzes evidence. You survived systematic targeting patterns that are now recognized by law enforcement. Protections against the type of mass manipulation that made your neighbors into weapons against you have been put in place by community organizations. Procedures for locating and prosecuting conspiracy charges have been established by legal systems that arise from inquiries into false accusations. With viral vigor, your vindication starts to spread across underground networks of awakened people worldwide. Every individual instantly recognizes the well-known pattern of a concerted assault followed by supernatural vindication that occurs anytime darkness triumphs over light with enough conceit to set off procedures for heavenly intervention. In every continent where systematic targeting operations are being carried out, what happened to you is happening to other chosen ones at the same time in various places with different circumstances, but they all have the same spiritual signatures. Your vindication becomes into a comprehensive guide that other selected individuals can review and adhere to. When you learn how to activate divine intervention through proper spiritual alignment and unwavering faith in cosmic justice, the same supernatural forces that protected you with such spectacular efficiency can be used to protect you from similar coordinated attacks from systems that specialize in destroying individuals who pose a threat to established power structures. When integrity is upheld under duress and ideals are refused to be compromised, regardless of the social repercussions or rejection from the community, the same divine justice that cleared your reputation with such comprehensive documentation will clear theirs. When understanding takes place, the same spiritual principles that turned your struggle into complete victory will change theirs as well. In reality, that seeming persecution is a prelude to far more important goals than social acceptability or personal satisfaction. Your documented experience serves as a clear warning to those who might attempt similar operations against protected individuals in the future, but it also offers hope and useful advice to other chosen ones who are currently the targets of systematic attacks. What happened in your town has been thoroughly noted by the spiritual world. Across dimensional limits that most people are unaware of, divine protective systems have been activated. In spiritual planes that function outside of human experience, the universe itself has established lines. And there are now repercussions for breaking those borders by attacking people who have been chosen that go beyond what human legal systems can enforce. In the cosmic courts that oversee spiritual warfare, your case has set a precedent that will shield future chosen ones from similar attacks and guarantee prompt and thorough justice for those who disobey divine laws pertaining to the treatment of protected individuals. Numerous jurisdictions' law enforcement agencies now have case studies that show how false accusations against specific people usually arise, what patterns of evidence to look for, and how these cases typically lead to significant corruption investigations that reveal networks of systematic abuse. Training programs that teach investigators to spot coordinated targeted activities before they destroy innocent victims now need them to read your vindication. What you went through and overcame symbolizes a timeless spiritual law that functions with mathematical accuracy throughout nations, eras, and civilizations and is unaffected by social or technical change. The chosen ones are placed strategically by cosmic forces and then systematically attacked in ways intended to activate divine intervention protocols that restore universal balance through spectacular exposure and comprehensive justice when darkness becomes too concentrated within any system and corruption reaches a critical mass that threatens innocent people. The ideal circumstances for your vindication did not correspond with the timing of your false accusation. It was cosmic clockwork in action, played out by human actors who unknowingly contributed to their own systematic demise while believing that the service was being rendered for their own benefit. When the exact mechanism that would permanently and irrevocably remove them from positions of power was triggered, there was a complete and utter belief that a threat to the meticulously maintained control system was being eliminated. You are living, breathing evidence that no weapon designed to harm a chosen person can ever succeed in the long run. Not because those who are chosen are flawless beings impervious to harm or pain, but rather because service is performed for cosmic orderly reasons that go beyond individual well-being and activate safeguards that are beyond institutional or human comprehension. Power. You are a living example of how divine justice functions as a quantifiable force that steps in to influence human affairs. When transgressions of spiritual precepts surpass reasonable bounds. When corrupt systems deliberately ruin innocent people. When truth is distorted for selfish ends beyond what the universe's order can bear if it isn't corrected. The people who used to dismiss you with such concerted efficiency now look upon you with a mixture of healthy fear and something like reverence. Because of what was done through you by forces that are far outside their understanding or control, not because of what you achieved with only human effort or your own charm. Something was witnessed that defies explanation using standard mental models. They learned about the nature of reality that they will carry with them for the rest of their lives, and they experienced something that cannot be denied despite their wish to return to cozy delusions. In human terms, your vindication is now complete. However, the most potent stage of your purpose's cosmic effect is about to begin. Every chosen one who comes across this story through first-hand recollections or written proof will identify aspects of their own path and acquire unwavering fortitude from your triumph over organized evil. When it is realized that heavenly protection is real and accessible to those who serve purposes bigger than their own comfort, everyone who is currently facing false accusations will find unwavering hope in your vindication. Through divine intervention, every community plagued by covert corruption will have the chance to be exposed and purified. Every network of organized evil will realize the pointlessness of attacking protected individuals when they realize how cosmic justice works through chosen ones who refuse to be broken by systematic persecution. This is because they will calculate the cost of causing a supernatural reaction that destroys everything they have built. When you give with joy, heaven records it. Your seed in holy voices is eternal, Philippians 4 verse 17. The standard legal procedures do not simply absolve your accusers of any wrongdoing. They have been buried under the weight of their own lies. They lose their freedom as a result of their own decisions. Through the very mechanisms that were tainted to suit their goals, their reputations were irreparably damaged. Their destruction acts as a constant reminder to those who might think about attacking chosen people in a similar way. For other chosen ones navigating their own coordinated attacks by dark nights from systems that specialize in squelching independent voices, you now stand as an unwavering light. Your triumph serves as a reminder to them that, for those who serve causes that go beyond their own well-being and social acceptance, divine protection is a guaranteed reality rather than merely a metaphysical idea. Your enemy were not declaring your destruction with the sirens that pierced your early air. The start of their methodical demise through mechanisms that were triggered but never under control was announced. Your guilt was not being illuminated by the flashing lights that broke over your windows as intended. Their corruption was revealed to authorities, who would compile a detailed account of their offenses. As was to be expected, the false charge against you led to a police inquiry into your neighborhood. Spiritual procedures that will defend the selected and annihilate their adversaries for future generations were activated, setting a precedent in cosmic law that regulates how divine justice reacts to concerted attacks against those who are protected. Proceed now with a complete grasp of who you are and what you stand for in cosmic terms that are beyond social recognition or human comprehension. Through unequivocal intervention that turns seeming defeat into overwhelming victory, the universe itself has shown its dedication to your protection. And that completely alters the possibilities for your unstoppable future as a selected individual functioning under unwavering heavenly protection. Beloved soul, if this message has spoken to your heart, don't let it end here. Click that like button so the light can spread to more people who need hope. Subscribe to Holy Voices so you never miss the next word heaven has for you. And leave a comment below. I read every one, and I pray over them. Remember, faith grows when we share it, so share this message with someone who needs to hear it today. Until we meet again, may God's peace cover you and His voice guide your every step.